The next step of our gradebook setup is to actually take care of the settings of our grade scales, our categories, and our Gradecalc options. This process needs to be repeated for every course that you're teaching within a term. This would also need to be repeated at the semester for your new courses that you would have. So to get started, I'm going to start with the grading scales and talk about that a little bit. I went to my gradebook and then I clicked on Settings to open up the Settings pane or window. If I click on Grading Scales, I'll be able to see that there's two categories that are already pre-made, a credit, no credit, and the GUHSD grading scale. What I'll see here now would be the grade scale is a 90, 80, 70, 60, and then a 0 as lowest score for an F. If I'd like to make a different grade scale, I can do that. And in order to do so, I would click on Add. I would title it, and then I would add the rows for the different grades. Now please do remember, for our district, we do need to have an A, a B, a C, a D, and an F. So you would just go ahead and put in a minimum percentage. Maybe your lowest A is an 88% and your lowest B is a 77%. That's where you'll be putting in those scores. And then you would choose whether or not the score is considered to be passing or not passing. And once you've set that up the way that you like it, you would hit Save. In this case, I'm not going to do this, so I'm just going to hit Close. The next thing to have set up after you've gotten your grading scales resolved is to go ahead and take a look at your categories. Now, campus does require that you have some sort of a category. It could just simply be assignments. Some people like to make different categories for their grades to at least talk about the different types of things that students do. So for instance, maybe for reporting options, I want to be able to talk about how a student is doing with in-class things as opposed to homework, how a student is doing with a project as opposed to a test. And what I would do then is go to my category list and create that category if I don't have it already. In order to create a category, I would click on Add, and maybe I want to make one called Projects. I can then choose which course or courses I'd like the projects to be applied to. Maybe I do choose to weight it, and maybe I like to make projects worth 40% of my grade. I could also decide to exclude a category from calculation. So maybe something like participation. I want to monitor and track and be able to report how a student is participating in class, but ideologically, participation really doesn't show a student's demonstration of knowledge or understanding. So maybe I want to record those types of assignments that are showing participation, but I don't want it to calculate into the student grade. In that case, I would choose to exclude that category from calculation. Once I've named my category, I identified a weight if it's applicable, if I choose to weight my categories. I've assigned it to which class or classes I'd like, and I've made a decision about excluding. I'm all good to go, and I can hit Save. If I'm happy with my categories in general, I can just go ahead and hit Close. If I want to double check on a category to see which classes it's been applied to, I can also do this, and I can add it to more classes if I like. The third thing I need to do now is going to be what's called the Gradecalc Options. What I'm seeing right now is a whole bunch of scores for fictionalized students, but I actually do not have an overall grade. In order for an overall grade to appear in your gradebook, you need now to click on Gradecalc Options. This is like the glue that holds everything together. What we're going to be doing is working within the final grades for semester 1 or 2, or even not. What I'll choose then is in progress grade. I'll select my grading scale, and if I made a different one, I could choose that. I would choose whether or not to weight my categories. So do I want each of my categories to carry a specific weight of the overall grade, or am I just using it for reporting purposes? You'll also notice I use the score's percent value. I recommend that you think about the implications of this because a score percent value will not take into account the point value of the assignment, simply the percentage of that score. So a 5-point exit ticket percent would carry the same weight as the final exam. So for most people, this box is going to be left unchecked. And if you do check it, it could have a very big impact on what the grades would look like for a student. You could also choose to do cumulative grading or limit assignments to last whatever it might be. More often than not, what we'll see with teachers is they'll use in-progress grade. They'll generally choose their grading scale. That's going to be the district one or one that they've made. And then the other most common thing would be whether or not that category is weighted. Once that's done, you'll hit save. You'll now see, if you go to your grade totals, you'll see a breakdown by category, as well as the overall grade that the student has in the course. So this is how you would set it up, and you would do this for every course, every semester. The last thing that I strongly recommend that you do is you click on Save Alert down here at the bottom. What this will do now is it will prompt you, if you've been entering in a lot of letter grades or a lot of scores, if you leave the screen without hitting Save, it'll say, hey, time out, you put in a lot of stuff, but you did not hit Save. So I recommend that you turn on the Save Alert for every course that you have, so you don't accidentally delete out a bunch of work that you did at the last minute right as the semester is closing.